Hello, everyone. This is Nico Alexopoulos, and this is a quick follow-up presentation to an older presentation we had done about the soccer tryout landscape in the U.S. youth soccer culture. This one is called the Youth Soccer Team Tryout ABCs, and it kind of goes over and addresses some of the issues with soccer tryouts. Before we dive in, I just wanted to kind of ask everybody a question: how many emails are you guys currently getting from different paid organizations to attend their tryouts? Now, mind you, today is April 10th, I believe, and the spring soccer season is in either the first or second week. In other words, some leagues have started last week, some weeks have started the week before. So really, it's a brand new spring season, and we already being bombarded with solicitations about tryouts. So if you guys are anything like me, I just gonna go into one of my email accounts, just a quick look to just show you basically solicitations for tryouts. Don't know if let's see if there's any dates on here. Let's see. I guess you got to click on there to go. Um, oh, here we go. Dates throughout the month of April. Okay. Here's another one. Dates through April 19th and 22nd. Let me find another one here. Okay. Boys tryouts Monday the 16th, Wednesday, April the 18th. Girls, I guess the same time frame, first first and second week of April. Here's another one. This one is May 7th and May 14th. And I believe if I just go up and down um, my email box, I can find plenty of them in here. I'll be honest with you. I think I have found email solicitations about tryouts as early as the first week of March. So what's my gripe with early solicitations? By the way, here's a bit of news for you guys. Not too long ago, our president of the Jackson Soccer Club had met with Tab Ramos, the director from U.S. Youth Soccer, in a preseason meeting with uh, presidents for the Monmouth County and Ocean County here in New Jersey to discuss different soccer matters. And one of them, pressing matter, especially for a nonprofit club outfits that they only charge a minimal fee to cover registration and league fees. Okay, pressing matter was the fact that tryouts are being conducted earlier and earlier every year, and from the paid outfits, and it gives a really bad or an unfair disadvantage to the clubs that don't um, have teams for profit. So why is that a bad thing? Well, it's a bad my opinion, and it seems to be the opinion of a lot of other people out there. When you are having tryouts so early, and you're part of a current team that is still to compete in the spring season, if you are offered a position from another outfit and you do accept, now you have to go back to the coach of the current team that you're playing to advise them that you're not going to be coming back. And of course, the rest of the teammates, the rest of the families find out, and it kind of creates a bad climate or bad situation with your current team. Either from the other families or on your side, it may not be the most comfortable situation for the kids. Furthermore, have you wondered why are paid outfits soliciting your players earlier and earlier this year? I mean, everybody's fighting to get into your pocketbook and spend money. Furthermore, the age groups that these paid outfits are competing for every year is getting younger and younger. I mean, you have paid outfits right now advertising for U7, age U7, to get into their pool of players and whatnot. Do you really have to spend money at such a young age to quote unquote get better training? Now, are you getting a better training? Well, it's an entirely different argument, depending, I guess, on what paid organization you're going to go with, depending on which coach you may or may not have. And I encourage you guys to, go on these paid outfits websites. And when I say paid outfits, I'm going to keep using the word paid outfits because I don't want to use the word pre-academy because, again, there seems to be a lot of misconception. Oh, my kid is playing for an academy. If you are writing a check, if you are paying any kind of money to an outfit, your child is not in an academy. Your child is in a pre-academy system. In order for your child to be playing for an academy, everything has to be 100% free. So if you're not paying anything and you are in an organization where you're receiving development, training, competition, all that good stuff without spending a dime, and I'm talking about no uniforms, no training fees, no registration fees, no league fees, no tournament fees, nothing. Okay, then you're an academy. So if you're playing in quote unquote here in New Jersey for maybe the Red Bull Academy, which is, of a certain age. There's no 7-year-olds there. Or if you're playing maybe for the Philadelphia Union Academy, okay, um, if you're writing a check, you're in a pre-academy system. So again, addressing these organizations as a paid organizations might suit our purpose a bit better. So, do you need to pay money for a U7 for a 7-year-old to be in that environment? And then once again, a lot of these outfits are advertising licensed coaches and whatnot. Well, they may have a few coaches that are high licensed coaches, but there's also a lot of coaches that have their minimal criteria. And if you go on their website, some of them do post the licensing. Now, they'll go out and advertise that our coaches have a minimum of a C license. What does that mean to the average parent? Absolutely nothing, other than the fact that have a little bit better, soccer knowledge and certification than your entry level license. But there's a lot of good coaches out there. For whatever reason, they may have not had the time to get, their diplomas, but they advertise that they have that higher level licensing. But if you do go on their website, you'll notice, or if you dig deep enough, there's a lot of lower level diploma or license holding coaches. There are even a few parent coaches. And how is that possible? Well, I'm paying to be a non-parent environment. How is that possible? It's possible because paid organizations are there, okay, to make a profit. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot. I'm not talking about across the board. There's a lot of quality organizations out there that do the right thing. However, there's also uh, organizations that, hey, they got to make a profit, so they're looking to bring as many kids into the system as possible. So if a parent coach has a club team, he's a non-volunteer, and maybe for XYZ reason they're not, he or the rest of the team may not be happy with the current situation. They might be solicited by a paid organization and say, hey, you know what, if you bring your team over, you can stay on as a coach. It might be for a year, it might be for 2 years, it might be forever. But they will entice that coach to bring over the team and put them in their paid organization. Now, the families will pay a fee, and that coach will stay on as a coach, or a partial of the team. They'll come in, maybe cut them a deal on the fee, and then look to add on to that team with other players that are coming from different areas by paying a full fee, kind of manage or offset, the team cost there. So what we're trying to say again, there's a lot of things out there that we have to be aware, and every year is getting worse and worse. I mean, parents have their life to go in. They have their situation, they have their problems, they have their work situations. The last thing they need to be involved with and have to educate themselves is with a soccer team tryout situation. However, with that being said, we owe it to our kids to actually do the right thing by them. And soccer culture in America is going to the garbage. Anyone that you speak with that is a professional in youth sports, and not just soccer, but we'll address soccer now because that's our issue, will give you a perspective of this American culture being in trouble. We don't have a national team in World Cup, 2018 coming up in the summer this year, and grassroots soccer, which is youth soccer, has a lot to do with it. Our culture, our mindset has to go through a major, major shift. And us as a parents and volunteer coaches need to aid in that mind shift. So let's just dive in, okay? First of all, it has to be some parent education. We need to spend the time to educate ourselves as parents. The time that kids used to go out and just play is, I guess, long gone. We all try to get involved in their sports life. Maybe too much for my my like my liking, but it is what it is. So knowing the ABCs of soccer is quite important. Knowing what the player wants is very important. And this is big, guys. We, regardless if you're going to admit it or not, and that's another issue which we will address in different videos. We are not honest with ourselves. Parents are not honest with ourselves. Coaches are not honest with ourselves, and we pass it on to our players. And then players are not honest with themselves. So ask your child what they want, and please don't take offense to this. I'm not saying that every parent, every coach, and every player is that way, but the majority is. You may not like it, you may not want to hear it, but it is the truth. Joining the right team, club or academy. And when I say academy here, actually, we're going to go back and change that into a pre-academy. Okay, how and why should you join this team? Is this the right fit for you? The history behind it. How about growth and development into the team and to the club? What do they offer? Is it a club, a pre-academy, or an academy structure? What age groups are there involved? Coach research and evaluation. Who's going to be coaching the team? Okay, who's going to be handling the team? Notable alumni of the club or the team. Who has played for that club? Has any players come out of that club that have gone on to play maybe in college or further more than that? And are the coaches or the structure of that club still the same as when that player was playing and went on to better things? I call this tryout madness. How do I know if a team or a club is good fit for my player? And we struggle with that every single year. We try to do the best we can for our children. Uh, every year, every youth soccer family has to go through the stress of tryouts. It's unavoidable. Even the families that have been playing for a while or on the same team stress over the fact that the team coach will see enough value in the player who's in the current team to ask him to come back on the team. For the new families or for the families that are looking for a change, it's even more difficult. Here's why. Following is a quick bunch of questions to ask when your player is trying out for a team, whether it be a talent team or a paid pre-academy club, before making the decision should you commit to that new club or new team. Okay, so here we go. Tell me a bit about your current training staff. What coaching license do they have? How much experience do they have? What leagues do you play in? How far will your games be? How much are you going to have to travel if you're a travel team? Which tournaments are you planning on doing? What is your playing time policy? That's a big time because parents don't understand what the coach's philosophy is. They may not understand the playing time policy, and then it gets into a big mess as the season begins. What are the costs associated with your club? And what does that include? How much are the uniforms? Is summer training or winter training included in the training for paid? Are there any additional costs should I be aware of? How long has the team been together, or is this a new team? In the private soccer clubs, players may be able to move up and down to various teams in an age groups. Find that out. How does this affect my child? You'll know what I'm talking about. In other words, if a player signs on your team, okay, and that team has, let's say, in a scheme that you can allow 14 players, but you only manage to have 13, are other players going to come up and down? In other words, from a higher age group, I'm sorry, from another team, should I say, my fault, not from a different age group, they're going to be in the same age group. Are other players going to come in from another team in the same age group to fill in the roster for some games or some tournaments? How often do you practice and where? What is the club philosophy? Every club has a philosophy. find out what it is and see if you agree with it or not. If you don't like the answers you get, or a club coach is being indirect with you, and that will happen quite a bit actually, it is probably best to look elsewhere, especially with all the abundance of options out there. Educate and ask. Please stop lying to yourself. Please don't get offended. And if you do get offended, maybe that applies to you. Is the tryout for you or your child? Are you dying to join that outfit, or does your child want to go there? Does your child maybe want to stay with a current team because he or she like the friendships they have built? Or are you pushing that child? Does your child want to attend a certain tryout, or is it you pushing them to? Are your goals the same as your child's? Are both of your goals and your child's goals realistic? Listen, guys, if you're U7 and maybe not the greatest starter, maybe your child is an okay average player, having goals such as I want to play for Rutgers University here in New Jersey, or I want to be Messi, might not be the best goal right now. Okay? I'm not saying that every child does not live and wanted to be Messi or Ronaldo or Neymar. That's part of watching professional sports and players aspiring to be those professional players. That's why they wear their jerseys, or at least in other countries are a lot more into this than maybe the U.S. So I'm not saying that you know you don't or you should not have those goals. And every player will have those goals. I believe that we should always reach for the stars. And if we fell short, maybe we'll get something a little bit less. But if your U7 team or U8 team or U10 team and you're playing in a division, you know, much lower than a premier division in another league, maybe it's not being realistic to take your child into a tryout for that particular team. Because once they go and get on the field for the tryout, maybe your child will not feel, you know, adequate, good enough. Mess my words. Good enough to once they start, training in the tryout, and that would show and that would affect his or her performance. Okay, maybe even his or her mindset coming out of that tryout, maybe they won't do any as good as they should. So maybe the goal to go from a lower level team to a higher level team is not realistic enough. And here's the next one. Are you using the persuasion method? You are the best on the team, therefore you must play with the best players. And I tell you one thing, I hear this in our club all the time. Well, he's the best rec player, so he should be playing travel. That's not true. Just because you are the best recreation player, it does not mean that you can play for a travel team. So just because you feel that your child is the best player on the current team, it doesn't mean that they're going to be good enough to play on for the particular team you wanted to try out. So maybe you should have realistic goals, evaluate the team that you want to try out for, okay, and then adjust your expectations. This way, the chances of the child's success are much higher than the chances of failure. And don't forget, having a failure or having a bad experience at a U7, U8, U9, U10, U11, U12, those ages are very tender. It's a good age to say, oh, I stink and, not wanting to play anymore. Okay, so do you know the true skill level of your child? Here's another one, which goes very, very, it goes in hand of do you think your child is better than it really is? Okay, maybe your child is not as good as you might think that he or she is. Guys, there's a time and a place for everything. In my opinion, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds should not be paying to go to paid pre-academy systems. Certainly, 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds should not be paying and writing those checks to play at that environment. In my opinion, they should just play. Shouldn't even be much coaching. They should just play. There's not a lot of environments in New Jersey that offer that. The free sign up and go play. Everybody confuses that. Hey, if there's no drills or exercises, there is no training. Most parents, most parents confuse that the trainer or the coach should put the players through a continuous barrage of skills, drills, running, work them hard. That's what's going to develop them. Wrong. At young ages, all the kids should do is play. Here's a ball. Here's a field. There are the goals. Go play. Have fun. Discover the game of soccer. Make your mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. You might make the same mistake over and over and over again. Go play. Parents need to be quiet. In fact, maybe parents should even be on the sideline for those games. Just let them play. Let them discover the game of soccer. You know, true story, until I was 14 or 15 years old, I could not get the ball off the ground. I could not do a corner kick. I could not chip the ball. By the time my playing career was over, not only did I play high school ball and excel, not only did I go to college, I also went to Europe and I played pro ball. So there's a time and a place for everything. Ask your kids, what do they want? Lastly, guys, ask yourselves the following. If you're planning on attending a pre-academy or any other paid organization tryout, not to include clubs with volunteer coaches that only charge league and registration fees, ask yourself the following. Why would you leave a team with a non-parent, knowledgeable coach to go to a paid outfit with double or triple fees between the ages of 7 and 12? No one knows if that 8-year-old, if that 9-year-old is going to be the next Messi. That's the beauty of youth sports. Nature reshuffles the deck every single season. The player that's a slow starter at 8 could be a superstar by the time they hit 17. Or vice versa. The player who has natural ability and excels and separates themselves at 8 years old, by the time they're 17, by the time they're 14, they already quit and don't want to play anymore. So why invest so much money in a paid outfit? And it happens all the time. Parents or families that go in at a young age, they invest, 3, 4, 5 years into a paid academy or paid pre-academy, should I say, and then they find themselves out, well, I got to go find someplace else because the current coach just doesn't play my kid anymore. He or she is not the best player anymore. Well, don't forget, those pre-academies always take the best players and always look to build on their current level of team. So always going to take the best players, which will bring to something else. Why are pre-academies and paid organizations conducting tryouts as early as the first week of April when spring league play has not even began yet? They are competing for your dollars. They are fighting for your money. And that's the only way they can gain a fair, an unfair advantage. Why do they only give you 24 to 48 hours time frame to commit to the organization after an offer has been made to your player along with a significant non-refundable deposit? Because once again, they are competing for your money. They are competing for your dollars. They want to make sure they wrap you up with a non-refundable deposit. So now if you go someplace else or if you like someplace else, you can't change your mind. You're already there. So if you find something better, you got to basically say, oh, sorry, kid, you got to stay in this team for now because we just paid we just wrote a deposit, which is not refundable. If pre-academies or paid organizations are supposed to develop players to a higher level, why are they always looking for the best of the best? Or are they? What does that mean? Let's be honest. I have seen and I've been around this game long enough to see plenty of quote-unquote pre-academy teams. That is an embarrassment to say that these teams and those families are paying to be in that system. Simply, those players are not ready for that curriculum yet. They're not ready for those circumstances yet. But the parents are paying because they got a paid trainer with a British accent, probably. Well, there's a lot of other elements, there's a lot of other ingredients that go into the sauce. No coach or trainer will make your child be a superstar. There's other ingredients that go into the, equation. A coach can help you, but there's nobody who can just wave the magic wand, no trainer, and make a kid a superstar. So, pre academies are supposed to be organizations that's supposed to bring in players to make them better players. However, they're always looking for the best of the best. Well, I got news for you guys. If somebody gives you a team with every single player being the best of the best, if you are smart enough, as long as you stay long enough out of their way, they're going to do very well. I may be exaggerating a little bit, but in my opinion, the most novice of soccer coaches, a parent that doesn't even know what the game is all about, if you are handed a team with great players, if you're smart enough and you stay out of the way, those players will be able to excel. However, a very good coach is like someone who can take players that are not of great skill level, not great focus, not great in confidence, and build them up where they become and or they acquire those skills. That's a quality coach, in my opinion. Have you seen some players on these pre-academies or paid organizations? You wonder, how have they made that team when you know your player is much better? The parents, mom and dad, could write the check, and that is what is needed. At the end of the day, every paid training company out there is a paid for profit organization. Unfortunately, for the families and the parents, some organizations they have a line around the block, around a mile, around the whole town of players looking to come in. Yes, they develop a pretty decent reputation. And I don't want to hear the other argument. Well, such and such paid outfit just committed 20 players, 30 players, 40 players into college acceptance scholarships. Well, guys, let's do the math. If your organization or your prepaid organization has 2,000 kids into their system, it's only a numbers game. Some of those players will get a chance to compete in a college level. The other argument is, well, you're paying for the training, you're not paying for the games. Because of our credentials and because of everything that we have, you'll be able to go into a college sponsor showcase tournaments. Your kid will have much more exposure than your average player. That's not necessarily true. If you know how to approach the game, when it comes that time for your child to be recruited or seen by a higher outfit, like a college scenario, you can do it without the interference or the help of a prepaid organization. And let's be honest, if you get into these organizations at U7, by the time you are 16, 14, 15, depending if you're a boy or a girl, and start accepting or start being seen by colleges and finally accept, an offer from a college at U17, well, you already have had a down payment on a college education. Because if you get into a U7 from a U7 age, by the time you hit that U17, 10 years in a pre-academy system, and the pricing is pretty much the same, that experience roughly will cost you anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. There's your down payment of a college education. Academies will, or pre-academies will argue with you all the time. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of them that are very, very good. But the argument is, do you want to get into that environment from a U7 age? This presentation probably got a little longer than I have. These are some of the thoughts that hopefully, will help you maybe start thinking or raise some question marks in your mind. But let's be honest, most of you, if you're offered the allure of wearing a certain jersey from a certain prepaid academy, you cannot resist. And if you have the money, you will write the check. I am hoping to be in a position where we can offer free soccer experience for all those kids that can't afford the academies, because there's a lot of talent in the U.S. playing in urban communities, or the parents may not have the money to get them into that scenario, that fall through the cracks. They never get the proper training, and they never get they never get recognized. Hopefully, we'll get to some type of an unpaid environment in the near future. This is a Tryout Madness presentation. My name is Nico Alexopoulos, and I wish you guys all the best with this year's tryouts. Have a